sure there were fine people, but I just seriously think the movie worked so well because of you. I just think it's 100% the credit goes to you. You played this role.
Thank you very much. I personally, if it was up to me, I'm going to give some of the credit to Commanding Code. If it was up to me, I'd have made him goofier than he was. I wanted him to have a slightly funny voice, not a cartoon voice, but a slightly kind of funnier voice that I just wanted to lean toward the comedy. And Manny heard me get halfway through that sentence the day before we started shooting, and he said, no. So I'm playing this guy as real as I can get in the middle of unreal, illogical situations. And I also decided not to make him play him crazy. I thought his behavior spoke enough about his craziness that I didn't really have to gild the lily. And given what he does, I thought that was plenty. And the fact that he sort of doesn't get any of it. None of that registers as guilt or remorse or regret or anything.
Well, I just think there was no other actor who could have portrayed it as brilliantly as you did. So.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice. Yes, sir.
I was wondering if you had any stories from Dark Knight of the Scarecrow.
Other than they used somebody else to play the Scarecrow in long shots. As you can tell, I've always carried a bit of extra, and I've become Orson Welles in these ensuing years. But even back then, I was a pretty big guy, but they wanted a skinnier Scarecrow, and they used the UPM. Didn't have anything to say. Yes, sir.
Tales from the Crypt.
Tales from the Crypt. I was so unprofessional.
That's memorable,
I think it is. The audition, speaking of ad-lib lines, I got that role because when I auditioned, he had no lines when I auditioned for it. And Naughty or Nice is my idea. And the casting director passed it on to Zemeckis, and Zemeckis liked the idea. But there was this one shot we had to do an enormous number of times because I wasn't a very experienced film actor then. And finally they had to send the AD over and shove me when it was my cue. I had no idea. It was a big moving shot, camera stuff, all of us meeting at one place, and I couldn't figure out the timing to get in the shot whenever I did. So finally the AD just stood there and went, oh, okay, I'm good.
You had like a set of dentures and...
Yeah, I had nothing really to say. The three words were looped, so yeah, very extreme set of dentures. You mean these? A gentleman in the audience gave me this earlier. Yeah, that's the guy, bless his heart. Oh, geez. A face for scaring children. Anybody else? Oh, right there. Yep. I hear it for an hour and a half. No. You got an hour and a half worth, I promise.
Oh, come on.
It's every 5 minutes. It's like a porno movie. Goes over there. Goes again. Goes over there.
Any others? Oh, who has one?
Yes.
Where did you learn to act, Larry?
I'm not sure I have yet, but I studied at the University of Oklahoma, where I went to school, and after that, I didn't study at all until about 15 years ago. And I started taking a class with a guy named Stephen Book, Stephen Book Acting Workshop. I loved his class so much. It's a long-term sequential learning kind of class. And he teaches improvisation technique, and I loved it so much I took his class again. And now I'm actually teaching it for him. So it took everything I already knew, and it was like taking apart a watch. Now I don't have to guess about all the pieces. I'm a much better watchmaker now. I know what's going on better. I have a huge grab bag of tools to work with as an actor. Very functional, very practical, and very unusual. It's, to me, a great technique. Where did you learn to act?
Huh?
Where did you learn to act?
Oh, you know.
Same place? Yeah.
I went to, I studied in Paris, actually.
Mhm.
In Paris, with an actor, Jean-Louis Barrault.
Oh,
Are you
yeah.
familiar with him?
Yeah, children,
He's gonna be here next week, the movie, next month.
Children of Paradise.
Yeah, they're playing it here,
Great,
his movie.
great. In case anybody doesn't know, this is Klugelger, a wonderful actor. Yes, ma'am.
So are you doing anything now besides teaching that class?
Sometimes I consider myself forgotten but not gone. It is what it is. And in this business, anything can change at any moment, who knows? So I persist. And what's interesting is I think I'm a better actor than I used to be, but that isn't what really counts, apparently. Most people, too many people.
Do you like the genre work that you've done with the horror stuff? Is that?
I never liked horror films, even when I was 12 and I was supposed to. Never liked them. And be careful what you wish for. Here I am, doing a whole lot of horror films. It is what it is. I know there's an audience for them. I know it's out there, but what scares me is something like Jaws. I've been in the water and I don't know if there's a shark near me or not. Linda Blair spewing green pea soup doesn't do much for me. And that's sort of the best of that extreme horror stuff. There's a whole logic and a whole thing underneath it, and I still went, nah. It goes, I guess I get too logical. Is that it?
Well, thank you so much for
You
coming.
bet.
So,
Thank you all for coming.
I do have ADD giveaway. Is anyone a fan of the Suicide Girls?